Välkommen till Masters of Steel här i smucka Kopenhagen. Vi är glada för att vara här i Danmark, landet med hygge, vikingar och världens bästa bro. Guys, how did we get here? We were supposed to be casual, chill, play a couple of games, maybe build an extra TC. But no, someone made a bracket and then someone else made merch. And now, look around. We are not in Twitch chat anymore. You guys made it bigger than bugs, balance patches, and animation cancelling debates. You kept playing, watching, sharing, and believing that AoE 4 deserved its own moment. And this is that moment. We're here in Copenhagen at the GN Group headquarters with SteelSeries, World's Edge, with the best players in the world, and enough HDMI cables to wall off an entire map. So whether you're cheering for a legend or a ladder warrior, rooting for your country, or just hoping someone loses their villager to the boar, you are in the right place. This is it. This is Masters of Steel. It's messy, it's sweaty, and it's going to be beautiful. 25K, 4 days, 1 stage, 1 trophy, and 1 winner. Guys, we were in Denmark. It was crazy. We had 4 miraculous days with a very tight time schedule. We actually planned to do a specific amount of games in a day. And because the venue had to be shut down at a specific time, we had to change the schedule the day of. So definitely was a little chaotic, but we should have foreseen that happening. Because in Denmark, there are some employment laws we have to abide by, and we could not keep the employees there too late. So yes, this studio is absolutely fantastic, but it did have a little bit of a time limit. So all of these guys were competing for this one beautiful trophy that we see over there. Guys, all of these photos are publicly available. We put them in. The photographers also here so you can see who they are. This trophy was handcrafted, handsmithed by a wonderful person at working with SteelSeries, and it was a distraction. Just look at that. So Marinelord got to take home this thing. I don't know how the shipping worked. That's for SteelSeries. That is not for me. So basically, it happened in Denmark. We had 8 players from across the world. It was fan-freaking-tastic. The best of the best. I think a lot of us missed some people there, like for example, Lucifron, who just couldn't qualify over CSO. And I think another person, who else would we have said? Numedan almost qualified as well. So would have loved to see Demo too, but I think Demo also could not participate. He was away for that weekend. And B, of course. And that was such a big issue because most people that needed to come, or not most, many, needed to get visas. And B, being from Russia, I don't even think he's considered trying to qualify because getting a visa, it is not so easy. Now, Anatand also did need a visa, and he did make it though, which we're very, very happy about. And honestly, the LAN itself, it was absolutely phenomenal to just have this environment around us. The people there were very, very competent. Like this man behind the scenes, he was insanely good at just controlling absolutely every aspect of production. Nelly was there as well, but you can see the professional setup was there. There was a lot of stress, but also a lot of friendly faces. People were very happy. We had a few viewers who came in, and these legendary mousepads we had back at King of the North, they're still making the rounds, and you can see how much he's traveled with this because he's gotten a lot of signatures. There's even KP from King of the North. So this mousepad, it even has Cat here. That's from King of the Rockies. How crazy is that? Oh, not King of the Rockies, King of the... Oh, the Garrison. The Garrison, there we go. So we had a pretty cool atmosphere, but it was only volunteers, and it was only pro players and SteelSeries people. So we had no audience. The audience were the volunteers. That's why a lot of people from Age of Empires just couldn't attend. A big question was, where was Voldemort? Voldemort was not one of our volunteers, and even though he's Danish, he is an example of someone who was going to be a spectator, and just the LAN did not cater to spectators, because that's one of the main questions people have asked me. So yes, it was, oh my god, look at the trophy. See, this is ADHD. So basically, Marinelord won the event. What a surprise. So big talent we had there. Marinelord winning the event. And yes, we'll talk about all of those things a little bit later. But what I wanted to point out as well is the talent we had there. Oh my goodness, guys, we had Crackety, and this was probably the shot of the event. This photo just said exactly what the vibe was. Winston, the most wholesome man in the world, and Crackety, absolutely amazing caster. The best person you could have at an event like this. He was fantastic. Now, Winston, on the other hand, he just brought all the knowledge, and it was just crazy. We even had my admin, Tommy, from chat. He flew in all the way from South Africa, and Aljona came with Gentlemates. He had his little casting desk here. It was pretty funny. He had a very professional setup there at the SteelSeries studio, but he wanted to be here on site with the players, and it was phenomenal. I can see why he wanted to be there as well. Aside from that, the rest of the team, we had Corvinus there too, which was a last-minute addition, and he did phenomenally. He was our analyst, and he just asked the questions. And when we had production issues at the back, he extended the time. I feel like Corvinus, he's never been to like an S-tier event or anything, but Corvinus did amazingly. I was so proud of him. Absolutely phenomenal. This man, you could just see the positivity shining from him. Everything he did because he loves the game. There was no instance where you're like, someone had a negative attitude. Corvinus, he was like the shining example of what someone should feel about the game. So, fantastic performance from Corvinus. I am so glad that we had this man here. So yes, Corvinus, we had Crackety, Myriad also just phenomenal. I know this was also like a big moment for him, but my goodness, the team behind the scenes was fantastic as well. As we had Cal there, Cal was, without this man, I don't think we would have ever had the type of production quality we could have had here. You can see these player cards. He did something in Vmix that just pre-coded all of the stats that the players sent in. And it displayed so well there too. Now I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anything. My wonderful friend Theoray and our player manager, Cascade from AoE Full World, he's standing there behind Theoray. I don't actually think we snapped a picture of the man. But yeah, all in all, oh yeah, the flags were great. The flags were fantastic. The flags behind the players, they were waving. That is just what you get if you have the best production crew, right? So I think this definitely set the standard for what an AoE 4 LAN could be like, but the money needed for something like this is insane. Vodka was also there in person, and yeah, fantastic. If it wasn't for any of these people, I think the LAN would not have gone as smooth as it did. I could not have pulled off any of this without them. Every single time someone's like, congratulations, I'm like, no, not me, them. Even here we have Tore. Tore is from Norway, and he did our videography, while Shuki did our photography as well, and he also helped with videos. And we just had an amazing crew here. It was fantastic. So I'm going to stop gushing about the crew. If I missed anyone, I am so sorry. So we wanted to give everyone a moment on the stage, but because of the time constraints, it was not possible. We had some pretty standard starts, like Marinelord 3-1ing CSO. Let's zoom in a little bit. Wham and Vortex, as we can see, Wham taking down Vortex, which I think was a little bit of an upset. Vortex is a very standout player. Marinelord and Wham, though, this game, very close. This was probably Wham's way of showing us he means business. Wham was amazing. He came in here and he almost took down number one. And Vortex coming in pretty strong as well. This was a pretty important game here because, you know, this decides so much. But Wham, Marinelord making it through, and Beasty Louis, pretty stunning performance here. Beasty had a pretty dominating stance over Louis.
And from this, I think a lot of people expected him to give Marinelord a pretty good go there in the finals. But we'll talk about that in a second. The semifinals, Marinelord 4-0ing Louis. That I think nobody could have predicted, because Louis just won a major EGC. Oh, there's a dark theme. Oh my God, there's a dark theme. So Marinelord, he definitely looked strong at this point, but Louis just won an EGC championship. And in that case, it feels like there should have been an instance there where Louis had a shot of taking him down, right? So, yeah, basically, I just quickly wanted us to go through a few clips of these to just talk about what happened between them. So, Wham and Vortex, I think this is something that a lot of people could not have predicted. Definitely did not look clear on who's going to take this one. But you can see here, this was pretty close. One win the other way, one win the other way, etc. And it definitely looked pretty scary. But Wham versus Vortex here. Let's quickly take a look at clip here.
Kind of a weak hit there against all the archers.
The archer died, but it was very fast reaction by Whamenqt.
Yeah.
I like that, how fast he
Colvin
reacted.
is.
But this is a really good showcase, and now a lot of viewers can learn about this. If you see a white tower, just ignore it. Like, you don't need to stop there and try to siege down. Just go around, and that's what.
I love that. Colvin is just saying, ignore the white tower. I think a lot of people forget that most of the time. So, Wham in this game, definitely at the front, I would say, from the start. And I believe that Vortex took this one from Wham. And this just shows you how quickly a game... Wait, was this the one?
Oh, Wham is just diving in and, wow, even just tapping GG.
Oh, yes, sorry. This was the other one. This was the initial one. So, Wham and Vortex, Wham took him down 3-1 here, but later on, it got a lot closer, and Vortex actually looked like he was going to be in there for redemption. So after that, we also just, let's quickly take a look at Wham and Louis for third place.
This is the only shot he has. He's sitting behind his keeps, hoping that the TC fires rockets at these units right now, but that mass is massive from Wham, and he just keeps rallying units. You see lines of blue making their way straight towards Louis' base, and it just doesn't look like Louis is going to find the miracle he needs to keep this game going. Now going into the archer.
I can't listen to my voice, guys. That's done. We can't listen to that. Move cams down. Oh, yeah. 1 second. There we go. I'm down here. But the fact that we had the player camera set up and everything, you can see the looks on people's faces. You can see every single bit of reaction coming out of there. And I love the fact that we can implement this most likely for online events as well, especially getting the player cams in this position. Now, what we can see, luckily these two went for the handshake, because at this point, none of the players did handshakes because everyone was so caught up in the moment. But this was a pretty big one, because again, Louis just won his first S tier the previous 2 weeks before this. And Wham taking him down is massive. A lot of players at this point told us that they did not like having a third place match, because if you make it all the way here, it's pretty hard to say, oh, I got third, but there was a third place match and you didn't. When you get third, fourth. So yes, it's definitely a pretty tough thing to go up against. I think also in person, Louis winning the last LAN that we had at the Garrison definitely set a precedent, and Wham came in swinging. Honestly, Wham did a phenomenal job. I am so happy with this man's performance. It was phenomenal. We want to, like, again, the main thing here, Marinelord took the win. He did a phenomenal job of doing so. But Wham needs to be commended here. He did everything to shut down all these top players. He even went 3-2 against Marinelord in the group stages, which at this point, I think Wham we're expecting a lot from him from here on out. But basically, what we do need to address is the things we did wrong. I think that in this event, I say we because I'm part of the organization, and what we did wrong was definitely with some of the remake decisions. and not the one you're thinking about, but the one where the boar spawned pretty close to the TC. Now, there was a situation on Mountain Clearing where the boar spawned close to, I think it was Puppy Paw's base. And at that point, our admin went around to all the pro players and he asked people, should this be a remake? Should this be a remake? And most players, I say most, but it was overwhelming. The overwhelming majority said, Puppy versus Anatand, yeah, that was offline. Oh yeah, that's why we don't have it. Most of the players said no, it should not be a remake. But after the event, they came back and they were like, oh, that should have been a remake. And at that point, we also consulted with people who are involved with the development of the game. And the response was, I'm not sure. I've never seen anything like it. And I think that was one of those moments where, when not sure, especially in a situation like that, the remake should be done. But the remake was already considered by minute 2. And because we took the feedback from all the pro players, I think this should have been done, from my perspective, but I'm not the admin. Again, but I think most people now, afterwards, it's always better in hindsight, right? Afterwards, people decide like, oh, this should have been the way. So honestly, in my opinion, that should have been a remake now. But in that moment, because of what we got from the pro players, what we got from people working with the game, we were just saying, okay, let them play it out. Because that was the best decision we could have made in the moment. And again, in hindsight, different decisions should be made. And this is also something that we are now going to be doing with other admin decisions. So the other big mistake, give me 1 second. I just want to double check. I did write it down here somewhere. Oh yes, big mistake. And this is something we didn't actually know was an issue until pretty recently when we sat or we saw people in a Discord call during a tournament. And people were helping each other draft. And this happened at the LAN as well. There were a bunch of people who were helping one another draft. And this is not something that's isolated to IRL events. This happened at the IRL event, and it also happens online quite a lot. And this is where some lower ranked pro players get a friend of theirs to sit in the call with them and help them draft. And I didn't think you would have to put this in a rule book, but you cannot do that. You can't just sit there and help another pro player do their draft, because drafting is a skill in itself. Drafting is not something you can take for granted. And this is something that's pretty wild that I should have foreseen, I would say. But this was something that I would say is not uncommon. But we're definitely going to make that as part of the rule set. And I will be contacting EGC and the other tournament organizers about that. It's something that's happening in every tournament because it's part of the pre-game, right? So, yes, that is something that was a big mistake, but it's a mistake that, again, we saw in hindsight. So, I do see a question in the chat, and I'll quickly answer that. I have a question for you as a tournament organizer. For these massive tourneys with tons of money and stakes, why is there not a list of tested seeds for each map to ensure balanced spawns? Because the game, firstly, is supposed to spawn correctly. Bugged spawns are very rare, but it leaves the issue towards the admin. So let's say you have Dry Arabia, and we did talk to the players about this as well. If you have 50 pre-approved Dry Arabias, but the spawn is still the one guy spawns with a front gold and a back gold. Now, one of those has an advantage, depending on their civilization. And when they lose, they can be like, yeah, but someone chose that seed. I lost because of my seed. So the moment you put pre-seeded maps in there, even if they're approved by the players, it leaves a lot of problems too, because someone is going to get blamed. And they would rather have it be random. Because the other problem is they would also have to now go before tournaments, load in 20 seeds and approve them. And most players are not going to do that. So yeah, that's not something that we can do. And the moment the admin does it, the arguments come, yeah, but the admin made that map. The admin decided to put that map into the map pool. And that, again, is not something that you can be working with. Would it be okay if they had a coach help them draft? Coaches are allowed in other games. So, no. For now, no. This is not League of Legends. This is not Dota. This is not CS. This is a 1v1 game with 1v1 skills. And from my perspective, this is not going to be something we can do. RTS has not set the precedent for letting players draft with a coach. How can you please them drafting? Well, we can hope they're honest, or we can put them all in a call and they can draft in that moment. That will mitigate the chances of it actually happening. So they can prepare ahead of the draft, but while the draft is happening, that cannot happen. Now, the game that people... there were a few remakes, by the way. There was another remake in Beasty's game where he spawned without a stone. There was another remake with Wham vs. Beasty, I think. And those were deemed remakes by the pro players. A lot of the decisions that we make is made with the consent of the other pros. We don't ask them to say, what should it be? We ask them to give a percentage. To give a percentage of how over was the game. Now, the big question that a lot of people had questions about, it was about the crash of empires, about the game that crashed between Beasty and Marinelord. Now, in the moment, I believe the right decision was made. I don't think we could have made a better decision with the information that we had. All the pro players that we asked after the fact, not all of them, there were maybe one or two that steered one way or the other. We had one player that said Marinelord was ahead, and then we had one player that said Beasty should be getting the win. The rest of the players agreed that they were between it's pretty even or Beasty is ahead. But every single person we spoke to at that LAN said this should be a remake. It's unfortunate for Beasty, but this should be a remake. After the fact, we did go and speak to them again. And we did ask them about where they landed now. And now, a lot of players say, in hindsight, this should have been a win for Beasty. But some players still say it should still be a remake because of the percentages that was provided. Now, this is an unfortunate situation. Beasty was ahead. My opinion, my biased wife opinion. You know, it is what it is. But at the same time, I say this after speaking to so many pro players. I say this after those interactions. But I still don't think the auto win should have been given. That's, again, my low-ranked opinion. So I should not be having a huge say in this. Most of the players agreed that this was about a 65-35 or a 60-40. Some players now think that this was a 70-30, 75-25. But in that moment, that was the best decision that could have been made. And we are learning from this. I think this is now something where we need to have a call with all the pro players and decide what happens in a situation like this. Well, honestly, we want a replay function. Thank you. But we can also ask, should we take a 20-minute break, sit down, have all 8 contestants sit down and watch that replay, and then have a vote on it? Do we then, and not vote on your friend, this is a situation where it's an anonymous vote, where you write down the numbers and you say, like, this is the amount that they were ahead. So this is not something that's easy. And there won't be a perfect solution to it, but it's the best we can do in a game that just doesn't have the replay function. So all of those, we need to discuss with the players. We need to get the players to say, hey, I would be okay with granting a win at 65-35. I would be okay with a win at 55-45. But as Tommy was actually in the Gentlemates video. They made a video about this. He said to them, 10 minutes before this, Marinelord was ahead. So for him, if the game crashed at that time, should he have given the win to Marinelord? Same issue. So it's a tough situation. So we'll still decide what to do with pro players. But what we found out is what's happening now is not working as it should. Well, we would like a replay function, please. Thank you. That's it. That's the solution to this. But it's all about what we can do with the things we have, right? We can't make things happen otherwise. We'll publish the schedule super early, and we will always make sure that people have the snacks they need to push through. But now, honestly, I think the one thing that people have been waiting for that we do need to talk about, and this is a very tough situation for me, because I think what went down at the event was completely unacceptable. It definitely, it shook me, really. And I have the proof here in front of me. So, guys, this is MSN. And during this event, I went to the shop and I bought myself a high-protein strawberry milkshake. Now, this high-protein strawberry milkshake, it looked delicious. I was very excited for this thing. And it disappeared. You know, it disappeared out of the fridge. To be fair, it was a communal fridge, but I did put it, sorry, I can't be serious too long. I did put it at the back of the fridge. Nobody would see it. And found it there in HD. That is the strawberry milkshake. The high protein strawberry milkshake. And honestly, MSN has stream sniped me several times. He sniped me in FFAs. But this, I cannot get by this. The fact that my milkshake disappeared and it's caught on camera, the culprit right here. Heartbreaking. What was MSN doing there if he wasn't participating? He was a practice partner with one of the with the players. So yeah, the real life controversy. Okay. I just wanted to address this because I feel like this is something that hit close to home. And yeah. Anyway. MSN, I hope someone clips this for him and so we can actually go through that. Anyway, okay, now on to the real controversy. So, Marinelord and Beasty went on a little bit rampage there, didn't they? Now, I was in a weird position here because I just did the most stressful thing of my life. I just hosted an event with SteelSeries and Copenhagen, flying people from all the world, visa issues, everything. And Beasty tweets scammed right after the event. And I know it wasn't directed at me, but it was directed at the event in that moment. And that messed with me. Like, if I must be honest, like, I was on like a little high, of course, of the event. It was great, but then he tweeted that out. And honestly, I must say, I was very much thrown off. The fact is, it's your right? You're allowed to tweet what you feel. I'm not your Twitter police. But that's where the lines cross between personal relationship and professional relationship, right? Because he needed my support as his wife. I needed his support as my husband. And I'm the tournament organizer and he's the player that got fucked over, as he would have said in that point. And I think still would say. So that definitely made that moment very difficult for me. And that's on the personal note. And that's okay. Like, I'm very good at keeping my things separate, right? It is what it is. But then the shit-talking started between these two. And I feel like I watched the clips that were referenced. I have all the footage that I need to have to be able to talk about this, but I'm not going to start another drama here. I'm going to say this bluntly, and I would just like all of you pro players who participate in these events, this behavior is absolutely unacceptable, and this is not going to happen again. Not in the slightest. I understand when you are feeling overwhelmed or anything, but Marinelord, in the moment, I feel like when I watched the footage, he reacted appropriately. He did misread the situation, but the behavior afterwards, unacceptable. Beasty's behavior, completely unacceptable as well. I don't think it's fair to go ahead and just go type scammed, you know? That's already really disrespectful. But then what happened after and the videos that followed after, it was very aggressive. And it's fine if you stand by your words, but it's not something I want to condone in my events. I can't police what you guys do on your private channels. I can't police what you guys do on Twitch or anything. But handle this like men and don't make a scene like you have. And I think that is what this comes down to. I wanted to come in here and I wanted to tell you guys, like, hey, this is what happened. These are the facts. But it was completely unacceptable. And no warnings are issued. I'm just telling you guys this is not going to happen again. And we will probably put this in the rule books. So, setting precedent. So, all in all, I love both of these players. I think Marinelord is fantastic. I think as a human being, I've watched... Yes, I love Marinelord. I think he's grown into something, you animal. Like someone spectacular. I think the way he conducts himself in general is wonderful in person, and it's really like grown from the StarCraft days. Beasty, on the other hand, love him too. But it doesn't make this okay. And I want these guys to do amazing, and I want them to keep playing. And I know this is now also leading to a little bit of animosity in the community, but the animosity stays on their channels, and we're not going to drag it into other tournaments. I guess this is the birth of like a massive rivalry. So all in all, it happened. It is what it is. But all in all, it is over now. Hopefully no more controversy. It isn't Marinelord's fault nor the admin's fault. Exactly. This is not Marinelord's fault. This is not the admin's fault. The game just doesn't have the functionality. There should not be a desync. But there was. You know, we can't do anything about that. But it happened. It's unfortunate. And Beasty did get effed over in that moment by the game, but not by Marinelord, not by the admin. And if Marinelord told the admin, I think I was ahead, and Beasty said, I think I was ahead, that did not sway his decision. The admin made the decision based on what he knew at the time of the game. And that's okay.
The Master of Steel Marinelord. Oh, look at the smile. He's so happy.
He's got every right to be, right? Like, this was an amazing performance from him all throughout. We've got Wham next to him, Vortex as well, and of course Anatant being in there as well. And man, what an amazing tournament. What an amazing series all throughout. The sword being held high.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Marinelord. Winner of this S-tier tournament, LAN.